Hi everyone! This lecture continues with Chapter 7, and we are just going to focus on introductions and conclusions. This is a really important PowerPoint to look through and a section of the book to look through because there are specific points that I will want in each of your introductions and each of your conclusions for your 4 formal speeches. So make sure you definitely go back and look at this to make sure you include everything I need. First of all, introductions. So think about why are they important? Basically, they give us a roadmap, they let us know what's coming up, and they ease us into this subject. There are 3 broad functions. Here's the first, to gain attention. So you want to start your speech with this type of device. You can choose whichever one works for your speech. Here are some options. A rhetorical question. This is one that's not meant to be answered out loud, so a raise your hand if, a nod your head if. You just want to make sure your rhetorical question is relevant to your speech. You could use an example, a story, or an illustration. The more recent, the better for these. You all have significant people for speech 1, so maybe you want to tell a story or an example about your person. Be careful with your timing for this one because your speech is only 2 to 4 minutes, so you don't want your example or story to end up being 45 seconds or a minute. If it's a longer story you want to work in, move it to the body of your speech. You could start with a quote. This could be something your person has said, something said about your person. Just let us know who said it and where you got it. A shocking statement. Shocking is bolded here because it should be something in terms of a statistic that shocks us. It shouldn't just be, do you know, 9 out of 10 college students don't get enough sleep? That's not a shocking statistic or statement. Yes, we knew that. That's not going to grab our attention. You can use humor. I like to laugh. I'm sure you guys like to laugh. We can all appreciate humor. But just be funny and be careful that you are funny. Sometimes you think you're funny and you're not. Sometimes you think you're funny and you offend people. Practice your joke on some people to make sure they laugh. Practice it to make sure you have the punchline down. If you have to explain why your joke is funny, it's not going to grab our attention, and more than likely you're going to be thrown off the rest of your speech. Shocking statement. Again, shocking is bolded, so whatever statement you make should surprise us. It shouldn't be along the same lines as the statistic. College students don't get enough sleep. Not a shocking statement. So make sure it's something we didn't know before. DeVito says you can compliment the audience or make a reference to the occasion. You guys are all happy to be giving speech 1. We are happy to be your audience members. I'm sure the 7 people that you have collected are happy to be your audience members, so you don't really need to do this in the classroom setting. Outside of the classroom, it makes more sense. This will be the very first thing that you do in your speech. You should not start with your name, with your topic. You should start with this device to gain our attention. The second broad function is to establish a speaker-audience topic relationship. So basically establish that you're credible on the topic. I need to know that you have done research. I need to know that you have become more knowledgeable on this topic. You're not just making stuff up. There's a couple ways you can do this. If your attention getter was a quote or a statistic, that establishes that you've done research. If it's not, you can just say, through my research, I have learned. Put one of these in every introduction. Outside of the classroom, you can talk about how excited you are to be speaking, compliment the audience, but again, we know that. Then you want to orient the audience. This is your third broad function, so reveal your topic. We need to know your significant person's name and the introduction. Sometimes people forget to do this to the body, but it leaves us very confused. And reveal something of importance about your topic and the audience. So let us know, what has this person done? Why is this topic important to us? You can flip-flop or combine orienting and establishing your credibility. So it could be, through my research, I have learned that Oprah Winfrey donates millions to charity. And then you say another nice thing or two about Oprah. So it can be the same sentence. The last thing you want to do is preview your main points. So this is when you tell us what you'll be discussing. This should be the last thing in your introduction. And then you'll want to transition to main point 1. Here are two examples, and you can read them yourselves, but basically from these we know what are the main points going to be. Okay. For the top one, we know that main point 1 is how John Adams got his start in politics and his efforts in 1776. For the second example, she lists first, second, and third about Catherine Stockett. So tell us exactly your main points. It shouldn't just be, so today I'm going to tell you how awesome Oprah Winfrey is. I would need to tell you what makes her awesome. What specifically am I talking about? And then like it shows here, you will end with your transition. The length of your intro should be about 10 to 20% of your speech. For a 5-minute speech, that's 30 seconds. If you're aiming for a 2.5-minute speech, that's very quick. Your speech should not end up unbalanced with a minute introduction, a 30-second body, and a 30-second conclusion. Don't worry about getting all of your information into the introduction. That's what your body's for. So in quick summary, for your introduction, you need to start with an attention getter. Within your introduction, you need to reveal your topic and establish that you are credible, and then you will end with the preview statement of your main points. Now we'll talk about conclusions. Think about where they are important. Think back to any book or movie you read, and suddenly it ends, and you think, that was it? I wasn't ready. I didn't see that coming. That's basically why you need to have a conclusion within your speech, so we're psychologically ready for the speech to end. Don't introduce new information. This is not a time for, oh, I forgot to mention, but if you forgot it in your body, you have forgotten it. The length is only 5 to 10% of the body. Don't drag it out. There are 3 parts of the conclusion. The first is a signal. You can use any of these options. It's basically anything that says, hey, I'm getting ready to end. If you don't like any of these options, find another one. But this is our first clue as audience members. Second, summarize the main points. It can just be a sentence or so. Oral communication's repetitive, so it's important for us to remember what your main points were and what we just talked about. It helps us remember them more. If it's applicable, discuss application or motivate the audience, so remind us why it's important. This can go in with your summary of the main points if you'd like. Speech 3 is a persuasive speech, so here's where you would have a call to action. So you tell us exactly what to do. Speeches 1 and 2 are just informative, so you do not need this function. Lastly, and memorably. Okay. You can use a quote if you'd like, or a statistic. Go back to whatever you used as an attention getter, or you can end with your challenge. Basically, you want to end with a punch. So if you started with a quote, maybe you want to end with a quote. Maybe the statistic has changed. We will realize that this is your ending. This is the one exception of introducing new information. So if you are introducing a new quote, that's fine, or a new statistic to end with, that's fine. But this needs to be your final sentence. Don't introduce a statistic and then talk about it for a sentence or two. That ruins the point. Have it be such a shocking statistic that it is finished. What you want to avoid is using the, well, that's it, or I'm done. Okay, come up with a more professional ending. So in review, ponder, why do you need to preview your main points? Think about how you should end your speech. The key word right here is memorably. And my question to you, does this grab your attention? Hi, today I'm discussing the environment. No, it doesn't. Make sure that you don't use this device in your formal speeches. You would want to start with your actual attention getter. This is boring. Okay, you'll reveal your topic within your introduction. You don't need to say it first thing. All right, well, this is the end of our lecture for Chapter 7 on intros and conclusions. The third one is outlining.